Hello everybody, welcome to our podcast on Oracle Seasons. You're listening to Zelda Pod Smashers. And I am here with Frank.
Yep.
And Stephan.
Bonjour.
So I played this game back in August and again in October, I think, just to remind me of the game and start this podcast. Now we're finally doing it.
Yeah.
When did you guys play it?
I played it in September, I think, after the Wind Waker. So,
Yeah.
a few months ago.
And you, Frank?
I'm playing it as we speak.
Okay.
No, I've played it last year in June.
Yeah.
Together with Aegis. I started 2 hero files and collecting all rings.
Yeah. And you have everything, don't you? You have 100% in this game as well.
On the Gamer Color I did.
Yeah. Okay, so the story of the game, guys. What do you guys think? Is
What
there
story?
much or- What story? Well, we do have in the beginning that Link has to come help or join the party with Din,
Yeah.
I guess, and you
Having a nice dance.
yeah, having a nice dance with her, and then Onox disturbs it. But what happens after? There's no story after, is there? Really? Not so much, at least.
No.
Maybe if you're playing a Link game.
No, the story lies more in the details, like the characters.
There's not so many cutscenes in this one as in Aegis, if you compare.
Yeah, that's true, yeah. Aegis
Yeah.
has the tower and yeah, it's building up. In seasons there isn't much in that
But there's
direction.
a lot of characters to interact with.
Yep.
Yeah, but for example, Din, you meet her in the beginning, and she's cute and all, but then you only see her again at the end of the game, right?
At least you're meeting her in the beginning, unless like the first Zelda game where you never meet her at all.
Yeah, that's true.
Yeah, but she leaves quite fast.
The
And-
thing is that the game was originally going to be a remake of Legend of Zelda, the first Zelda game. Like Capcom started experimenting with the Game Boy Color and they wanted to, let's take the first Zelda game and remake it on the Game Boy.
Yeah.
And in the style of Link's Awakening. So that's what we did, and we started added things like the seasons and the animal parties, and it started gradually turning into its own game.
Yeah.
But overall, it's still like the classic Zelda beneath it, and that's why I think it has a very simple story. We basically only swapped Zelda with Dean, we swapped Ganon with Onox, and we swapped the Triforce pieces with the essences of nature, I believe.
Yeah.
And yeah, that's basically it. And then we added the Temple of Seasons and Saprosia, but it's not a big story Zelda game. Yeah.
No, true.
No, I agree. Well, but changing seasons was quite interesting, I think. You
Yeah.
mentioned it, Frank, and I think that it makes so many different environments and so many different things to do in the world. I haven't collected everything yet in my game. Maybe I should try and do that.
I love this feature. I think it's one of my favorite ideas when it comes to like Zelda main gimmicks. I want to say. I think it has a lot of potential for the Zelda series. I want to see a new game using this mechanic of changing seasons, like freeze a lake in winter and then.
Do you remember the advertisement for the games?
No.
No, you haven't seen it?
I have seen them. Yeah, I mean these movie-like.
Yeah, like
I
an
want to say.
computer animated short
yeah,
clip.
a
It's
CG
awesome because
yeah.
he changes the seasons there, he changes time.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I'll provide a link.
And I have to watch it too. But yeah, I agree with you, Frank, that it's a nice mechanic and they could really use it in other games because they create different puzzles with it.
Yeah, like in a 3D.
And sometimes they merge the season, like first you have to go winter and there's another point where you have to change back to something else and you have to do something and go back to winter something.
Yeah.
Like this.
It does get a bit complicated sometimes. Like you tend to forget about it, just like the wall merge in the Link Between Worlds. Sometimes here I'm thinking, what am I supposed to do now? And then you think, stupid, I can change the season. It happens
Yeah,
more.
I think that happened more often to me than in
Yeah.
A Link Between Worlds at least.
But I thought it's quite simple. I think
Yeah.
there's like the things.
At
There are
least
some tricky things like in summer the lakes dry out and you have
Yeah.
to remember there's a like hidden caves beneath the lakes.
Yeah,
And
and also in the winter the snow builds up on the mountains.
yeah, true, yeah.
That
But
was
I
also
think
different.
overall it's a fun and simple puzzle. Like you just change the season and explore in a different season. So it's not as complicated or not as like an Orlog of Ages, the time traveling.
Well, I think sometimes changing seasons could actually make the task between the dungeons a bit long and tough.
Yeah.
But I'm not sure. I think that might be a good thing, because the game doesn't feel so fast to go through then.
If there's only really one dungeon, I know maybe two, where you constantly have to change your seasons to get to them, because usually it's like you have to learn a new season and this gives you access to the next dungeon. So it's basically quite simple for the beginning for the first half of the game.
But I remember a few months ago, Martin and me were talking about this, and we both thought that sometimes it takes so long to get to a dungeon. Like you have so many tasks to do.
Yeah.
For example, Sunken Village. I got lost there, and maybe that's not so much about how much you have to do, but just that it's a bit confusing. Because
Yeah, I think because there aren't too many quests between the dungeons. Like if you compare it to like Skyward Sword or Twilight Princess, it's very
Yeah.
short.
yeah, but those are 3D games. I think maybe for a 2D game, this one has the
But
most
still,
tasks.
if you compare to like the Minish Cap, it's the same. Like, I wouldn't say there's a big difference between the other Game Boy Zelda games and this one.
Maybe the puzzles were just too hard.
Yeah,
because,
maybe you just took too long, and maybe you were confused. And
It was my first time through. I do think there was a lot of things to do between the dungeons, but it is mostly because I was confused with what I had to do.
Actually, I put down the game a few times because I was so frustrated with it. I didn't like it too much, and I never completed the game on the Game Boy Color. And actually, after I beat this game, I went back to my cartridge and I checked where I left off, and yes, I got stuck at the same point where I did this game.
Yeah.
Like where you
Yeah.
have to find the rusty bell and the skull
Ah,
hat helps you.
okay.
Yeah.
I got stuck and I never touched the game again until
Oh.
a few months ago.
That's understandable with the skull head, and you have to run around in the desert.
Crazy.
Yeah, you
Oh,
texted me
nice.
for help. I remember sitting in an airport using half an hour for that, and in the end I was just pissed and threw
I
him off
used-
into the sand pits.
I
But
used
it's not
more.
hard. You just have to take the skull and walk over
Well,
all
the problem is he says he will give you a hint when.
Yeah, he makes like this noises with his head.
Yeah.
Okay, I
But-
didn't notice that.
No, but you have to stand on the quicksand and you almost have to drop down. Then he makes a
Okay.
sound. But my
he
problem was.
chatters with its teeth, basically, because that's what he does.
Ah, yeah. But when I got to the desert, the first thing I did was drop down a pit, and I discovered that there were caves underneath. So I checked every pit for a cave, and I didn't find anything in those caves. So I thought, okay, the item that I need is not in these pits. And then
Yeah.
I meet this head that says, I will help you. And I thought, well, I'm staying away from those pits because it's not there anyway. That took me almost an hour, and then I had to ask Frank, and he said, well, you have to drop down there. But I already did that. Yeah, but the item appears only after.
I think it's random. I think it's only if you have the skull on your hand, maybe. I'm not sure about this.
Yeah, I think so.
There's one pit where you get to a ring, but then the other one where you get the bell is like completely random.
Ah, okay.
Yeah.
But still, it only appears after you talked to the school and he's helping you.
Yeah, I think it only appears after you talk to the skull.
Yeah,
True.
so that's a bit broken, I think.
Yeah. Well, but this game is, what should we say, quite action-packed compared to Ages, which was more focused on puzzles.
Yeah.
There's a lot of action in this game, and the items also shows that.
More enemies on the overworld, especially like overworld in Ages is quite empty if you compare it. And here's like nearly every screen has enemies on it.
Yeah. Well, if we took the items, for example, you have the slingshot, which is a
Yeah.
common item in the Zelda series because there's no bow in these games, which I'm a bit annoyed about, but still you have the slingshot, you have the boomerang. The boomerang doesn't do damage. And also you have Rock's feather, which becomes Rock's cape, which is also really cool.
Yeah,
Even
cool item.
Yeah.
really powerful items. It's quite a fun. And one of my favorite items which got introduced to the series is the magnetic glove, where you can like move these iron balls around.
Yeah.
And even steal stuff from enemies, like steal their shields and
Yeah.
And I'm not sure, but the big Gorn sword, do you have to play Link game to get that?
Yep.
Because I didn't get it. But
yeah, you have to
it's also,
get the big Dawn Squad and the bomb shoes are for a Link game.
Yeah, but also cool items to have in the game. But I think the slingshot is probably my favorite due to the hyper slingshot, which shoots into 3 directions. I think that was really awesome.
Even makes the final boss fight, also against, if you're in a Link game, the final boss fight, it's a little bit easier in seasons because of the hyper slingshot and the rock scape. It makes us fight.
Yeah,
easier.
Because you can dodge with the rock scapes.
Yeah, and it's easier to hit the boss with a slingshot.
Yeah, yeah, exactly.
And with the siege shooter is quite slow, and if you miss, it bounces around. That's annoying.
It takes too long, but that's why it's good for puzzles and not for action.
I think it's the whole point. Like Seasons was designed to be more of an action game, and Age is the puzzle game of the two.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's true. You also have the Pegasus seats. I always use them, and then Rockscape. Then you can just jump miles ahead.
Yeah, like the whole screen almost.
Well, anyways, since we're talking about action, what about the bosses, guys, compared to Ages?
Some of them are hard. Like the boss of Dungeon 6, I died twice to it. Yeah, I guess so.
Yeah, it's Manhandler. I only want to say that these bosses are also remakes of the first Zelda game. Like all bosses from the first Zelda game are in there, like Aquamentos. Even the first dungeon is like a complete remake of the first one in Zelda game with the Cloud Root dungeon where you cross a bridge onto an island on a tree, and then you have like the same boss and the same layout of the dungeon. And Dodongo is their Manhandler, Dick Dogger, and what all the names are. And Cleok. even Ganon if you're in a Link game.
I hadn't played the Legend of Zelda, the first one, before this game, and when I played the Legend of Zelda, I was whoa, because those bosses were the ones from Seasons, so it was quite nice to see. At least I think so. I didn't mind seeing them again, but this also enforces that you said it's a remake of The Legend of Zelda, and that shines through with the bosses as well.
In some bosses they even changed a lot, like Dick Dogger you fight with a spiked iron ball, which is quite a difficult battle, because you can easily hurt yourself with an iron ball. It's like one of the fights where I usually have problems.
Yeah, but it's a great boss,
it's a big eye, Martin. This is a big eye where you have to grab a spiked ball with a magnetic glove and like move it around.
Yes, that's true. I actually thought that was one easy, because you could bug it and you could keep hitting it almost with
that's if you do it that way it's quite easy, but I usually hit myself like when I was younger and inexperienced.
Of course. Because you keep using the magnetic too long, and then
hurts yourself. Or like here in Stephan's boss, Stephan had problems with Manhandler, right? The boss where you use a boomerang.
Oh,
this is a bland boss.
I think that one was probably the most difficult for me, except for the last fight, of course. At least for these ones. Yeah,
Onyx, you have to say Onyx is one of the hardest final bosses. Like with a dragon form and its normal form.
Actually, I think his final form was easier than the one before it.
No, I don't think so. I think the final form is the worst, because I could almost always get to the final form with full health at the end, because you can hit the Din with your Rod of Seasons and it bounces off.
Oh yeah, I still don't know how to properly do that. I kept heroing myself, but in the end.
But she keeps coming through towards you, and you just hit her, and she flies across the map, and you can start hitting him. And just dodge his flame. Yeah. You just need to learn the mechanic.
Yeah, I didn't. I just hurt myself and the boss at once.
But anyways, what's the most difficult, and what's your favorite boss? Stephan? I can start, if you want.
Yeah, go ahead.
Yeah. Onyx is probably both the most difficult, but also my favorite boss due to the difficulty. I enjoyed it. I think I used 1.5 hour just to beat him. I remember
Oh, wow.
running. I think I died to him 20 times or something.
Wow.
What?
Yeah.
Crazy.
No, for me, I think Dig Dogger was the favorite because it's just fun to move this ball back and forth to damage him.
Yeah.
And Manhandler was definitely the hardest one for me. I
Mm.
died twice, and I almost never die at Zelda bosses.
You, Frank?
Oh, I'm not so sure. I remember that I usually had problems with Goma because I didn't figure out that you can destroy its claw. You know.
What?
Yeah, you can actually destroy the claw, which makes the fight easier a lot.
Oh. I didn't know.
And yeah, I usually struggle with this fight, but well, if you figure out the fights out, none of them are really difficult. But Onox, yeah, Onox is probably the most difficult and fun fight.
Yeah. Okay, we could talk a bit about dungeons now, since we are already talking about the bosses. What do you think
Yeah.
of the layout of the dungeons?
Well, it's not as complex as an Oracle of Ages. Here it's more linear, I guess. And
Is it? I'm not sure.
I think so.
Hmm.
You didn't have these crazy, like, multiple layers in one room.
Yeah,
and
it
you-
doesn't have Jabo's belly, that's right. Yeah,
Okay, it's extreme example.
yeah, I mean, it's maybe the main example. Like the one dungeon that stands out in Oracle of Ages and makes the game. Because Oracle of Ages also has very linear dungeons like Scar Cave.
Yeah.
So I wouldn't say. I think they're on the same quality. Like for example, I really enjoy the Sword and Shield maze, like this dungeon where you have like in one level is all lava and fire and the other one is ice. I thought
Oh,
this
yeah.
was a very cool dungeon.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Pun
that's
intended.
nice. And what do you think of the 3D dungeon?
3D dungeon.
Yeah, Dancing Dragon dungeon.
I love the music. The dungeon itself isn't that good, but the music is awesome.
Yeah.
Well, I only have one dungeon I have problems with figuring out, and it's the one... it's the Ancient Ruins.
That
So,
was
Yeah,
I
hard.
got stuck after getting the magic boomerang, and I just couldn't figure out what to do, and I went to the room where there's a bubble you have to hit in the upper left corner, and I just couldn't figure out that you had to throw it in the button and control your boomerang up there. So I was keeping throwing it into the stones until I figured it out. I ran over that dungeon for so long. And that's probably the only one I had problems with in Seasons.
the Ancient Ruins, we have this room where the walls are closing in on each other, and if you actually close, you get the game over. I'm always afraid of this room because when I was younger and played the game for the first time, I died once in these rooms. And always if I have to go through them, I'm like, oh my god, I hate this room.
But
I
you
don't wanna
can
die.
you can get out, right?
No, if it squishes you, you're dead. Game over.
Yeah, but I think there's a door. There's an exit.
Yeah, you have to go through the room to get to the boss key, so you have to cross it completely.
Yeah, I
But
died
you have to
quite
be
a-
fast enough with a rock feather and
Oh right, I'm
Pegasus
thinking of something else.
seeds. Yeah.
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 Well, I think there's some cool dungeon designs, but overall they were quite simple and easy to get through.
Most of
Okay.
them at least.
I think the later dungeons are good quality, especially if you compare to like the Nintendo DS Zelda games, which are really easy and simple. I think those dungeons
Yeah,
are
true.
good on the same quality as Link's Awakening or yeah.
And also I know there was a secret room in the second dungeon where there is an arrow pointing towards a wall, and I think that was pretty cool.
I think that's like classic Zelda 1 thing.
Yeah, maybe I don't notice enough, but I thought it was pretty cool. I remember that moment at least. Anyways, let's get back to the overworld. Did any of you get lost in it because of
Never.
season changing or
No, all the time.
all the time?
I remember getting to Sunken Village, like I mentioned earlier, and now my default animal buddy was Dimitri,
Yeah.
so you can swim around. But when I got to Sunken Village, you at one point you have to get off and you have to carry him and throw him over a gap, and then you can continue using him. But I didn't remember that you could do that, so I was running around Sunken Village like for hours, and I didn't know what to do. And then that was annoying.
Yeah, I don't remember that part where you have to throw him. But could this
Did
be?
you, did you get Dimitri as well? Or?
No, exactly. Could this be because the animal bodies? Because
Yeah,
I
because
got,
because if you have if you have Ricky or Moosh, then you find Dimitri inside the sunken village,
exactly.
and then it's not a problem.
And then it makes more sense.
yeah. But yeah, animal bodies. Maybe you wanna explain quick, Frank, how that works, or link to the Ages podcast where it's explained.
Yeah, I'll link to the Ages one. Anyway, if you're playing a linked game, then you just get the one you got.
Yeah,
the
you
other
just get the one you had in the first game.
Yeah,
At least.
Can I add a point about the overworld? Because there's
Yeah.
something I always hated about the overworld in Seasons.
Of course.
That there's no warp point on the mountains, like Mount Coco and Goron Mountain. If you want to get
Yeah.
back up there, you always have to go either through portals or through the sunken village, which really sucks.
Yeah.
It's annoying.
Takes a long
It would have been better if there was a tree up there on these mountains.
I
Yeah,
agree.
that's true. I
That's my only complaint.
yeah. That's true. Yeah, you have the warp points in Subrosia, which makes it easier to travel around.
No, you have the warp points in the
Points
normal world
on-
with the trees.
But you can still use portals, like usually
Oh
I
yeah.
go.
Sorry, with the seeds. Yeah.
Yep.
I forgot
Yeah,
about that.
But
exactly.
It's missing a tree on top of the mountains, so I usually go through portals, like enter a portal in Horon Village. Then very close is the portal for the mountains, so that's like the shortest way to get up there.
Frank, did you already say that the map resembles the one in The Legend of Zelda?
Yeah, a little bit, because it's like part of the remake.
Oh yeah.
Because like you have a lake in the center with the first dungeon on it, and you have the woods to the east, mountains in the north, of course, and the lost woods are not, but
Something like that.
yeah, it's a little bit
That's
similar to the
Pretty
original map,
cool.
but probably because they started.
Maybe because they started adding and making it
Yep.
its own game, trying to
Yeah. Also, more obvious one is the lake in the center with the first dungeon. It's like very similar.
Yeah.
Anyways, we have Subrosia. I don't know what are you guys. Is it an underworld? Is it another dimension, or where are we? And also, I think it have some cool persons there due to the pirates.
Oh yeah.
And the Subrogians, I always love Subrosia because
I like the
it's-
Subrosians.
Yeah,
Yeah, me
I
too.
love the whole place, like the whole underworld. I think it's an underworld. It's quite funny because you expect like in hellish underworld to be like something scary, where you have all these funny guys. It's more like side quest oriented.
Yeah, that's
And
true.
I always like this place. It's cool.
I think
It's something very different in the Zelda series.
I think the world is very empty because they don't have any enemies there. And suddenly an overworld without or underworld without any enemies gets very boring, I think. Like it's very empty.
It's quite small.
I always felt that after I did a dungeon, oh, I have to find a way to get into Subrosia and get the next season,
Yeah.
which you get in the Temple of Seasons there. That's
Like-
what I thought about Subrosia most of the time, and I knew, like, I don't know if it's a side quest, but you know, the stuff between the dungeons is basically Subrosia most of the time. Like, you have to go on the date with the Subrosian girl, you have to find a butterfly. Yeah,
Yeah, because you need access to the different areas of the temple.
yeah,
Right,
exactly. Yeah, and some of the items also unlocks the places, right? With the Rock's Feather, I think. Rock's Cape,
Yeah, true.
Yeah,
where you can jump over. But yeah,
they steal it from you. Like if you enter the Rock's Feather for the first time, then you have like two guys who steal your feather, and then you have to get it back with this hide and seek minigame.
yeah, that's true.
That
The
was
hide and
fun.
seek minigame was actually quite nice. I thought it was a fun one.
In general, all these guys are pretty funny.
It's
Like-
a good place, and also
no.
the pirate people there. I like them. I don't know why. I think they were quite cool, and they help you continue in the game when they take you sailing from there.
You know that only in this game I realized that the pirate captain is the lost love of the princess in
And
Yeah.
the queen
the
in Ages.
queen of
If
Oracle
you
of
play a Link
Ages.
game, you even have different side
They-
quests related to that. Like if you play a Link, this is a Link game. In 8 seasons, you meet like Queen Ambi running around and looking
Yeah.
for her lover. It's
Yeah.
quite nice.
That's a
I
nice
think
touch.
something they did nice with the Link game, that some events happen due to this. But moving on, and since we've talked about the dungeons, there is one dungeon in Subrosia which you have to unlock through there. There's a room there where there's a guy throwing heart piece, he's throwing items, he's throwing a lot of good stuff into a pit of lava. I remember getting into that room thinking, what are you doing? Are you trying to annoy me? Is this...
I was trying to catch all the items he threw in, but it didn't work.
It's a piece of art.
Yeah, why not?
And I thought the room, there's nothing to do here. I went out and I thought,
Yeah.
I hate that guy. So I went back in and I threw a bomb into his pit. Worked for me. Lucky me. I don't
Yeah.
know if this is what Nintendo wanted, like you wanted to annoy him, or you know, just throw a
Be
bomb.
like-
No, help him out. That's what he wants to do. He wants to activate the volcano,
Yeah.
but he tries all items except bombs. That's like the only item he doesn't use.
Yeah,
And
I
you
saw
have to like help him out, and then like he's happy. Oh, how did you do that?
yeah.
That was fun. I wrote down one of the jokes I liked.
Yeah.
When the pirates are there in one of the houses, then one of the Subrosians says about them, like, for how long are they staying? And then when the pirates are gone and you talk to him again, he says, don't tell me you're gonna stay here now. These guys
Yeah.
are cute.
Yeah, I like the pirates. I think they were a fun thing to the game, added to the game at least. Like the captain.
Did you go game over by the Moblin in his house of bombs?
I think I did one time actually, yeah.
Nah,
And the first run through.
I think I asked you a while ago and you said you didn't. You probably heard it from me.
Yeah.
Because when you defeat the Great Moblin, he retreats to one of the houses
yeah.
in Sunken Village, and he's making bombs there.
Yeah.
Now, if you light those bombs, or if you place one of your own bombs there, then the whole house blows up, and he like gets hurt and he's crying. But if you do it again, then they catch you, and they run out of the house while they throw you in, and you go game over.
I think
Whoa.
you actually have to do it a couple of times, like repeatedly do it.
Yeah, well,
Yeah.
Just destroy the house like 3 times or so.
But that's
really
quite
nasty,
cool.
and then
It's a nice addition, and yeah, you told me, Stephan. I thought it
somewhat
was
similar like to
Yeah.
the shopkeeper in Link's Awakening who kills you when you steal stuff.
yeah.
Yeah. Well, anything else you guys want to add to it, or?
Like there's like the sign guy in Subrosia, the sign laughing Subrosion.
Oh.
That's its name. And if you keep destroying signs in the overworld, he is like mad about you. Like, how could you?
Yeah. Why?
If you destroy 100 signs, he like makes a screen appear when the game starts. Like with Capcom, Nintendo, they're like, oh my god, the game resetted, but he only tricked you. It's like,
Oh, nice. Yeah, I remember.
And
that.
then he
He's
gives you a
stocking-
ring.
He's stocking
Yeah, he
signs
gives
in
you a
his
ring.
shop, right? He have a lot of signs inside
yeah,
his shop.
yeah, right.
Yeah.
Yeah. Also, you could get this game if you pre-ordered A Link Between Worlds in one shop. Was it GameStop or something in the US?
Yeah,
I
I
think.
think
I'm
GameStop.
not sure, but anyways, they would give this game away from free with a. Is this a game for beginners, really?
I think most of
People who wants to get into Zelda, is this a good game to get into Zelda with?
Why not? I think most Zelda games are good
Yeah.
way to get into the series, except maybe Zelda 2 or Master Quest.
Yeah.
Yeah, I didn't like this game too much. It's pretty low on my list. Yeah, which is weird because in general people like Oracle of Seasons about just as much as Ages. But for me, there
maybe
was,
even more.
yeah, sometimes, yeah. But for me, there was a big difference.
Well, I think Seasons is better for new players to get into Zelda than Ages, but I don't think it's the
Yeah.
best game to get into Zelda with. That's another thing. But
No.
it's a fun game, and there's a lot of action, and it's not too complicated puzzles, but it's a challenge sometimes.
Talking about humor, I have 2 more.
Okay.
There's this one
Well,
guy, an old man. He's saying to Link, "It may be irresponsible, but I'm counting on you." And then, so do you know who doesn't like smashing pots?
No.
It's Ingo in
Yeah.
Sunken Village. He says, "I love faces, or vases. I just don't understand how people can break them."
He should have like added some pots into his house, and then you can smash them because we're pot smashers. Get it?
Yeah,
Yeah.
I would say he'd hate to have us over for coffee.
Oh
Yeah.
yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, but that's also actually something you have to do in a side quest with the vases.
Mm-hmm.
Where you
Yeah,
have
it's
to
a
get
trading
vase.
sequence where you have to give him like
Yeah,
go
exactly.
run vase. Yeah,
Yeah.
it's a go run vase. Yeah.
Anything else you guys want to add before we end the podcast?
No.
No? So I
No.
think that was it.
Let us know if you're interested in a podcast about both ages and seasons, where we talk about rings and the
Linking the
concept.
games.
Yeah, linking games, having two
Yeah.
games at once in general.
We're going to do it anyway, so.
Yeah,
But
Just-
let us know. Let us give us your our
just
feedback.
convince us to do it fast.
Would be nice with some comments. And thanks for listening, everybody. And stay tuned. We're gonna do more podcasts.
Yep.
Yeah. Goodbye, everyone.
See ya.
All right.